Hello, hello.
Hi everyone! How's everyone doing? Hi
This
Daphne.
is what's up, girl? Good to see you. This is really exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Hello,
Oh
hello.
no. Hold on one
Echo.
second. Got some technical difficulties here.
All right, definitely gonna mute myself. Okay.
All right. So welcome everyone to our segment today. I'd like to introduce myself first. My name is Tiffany. I am based out of Washington, D.C. My day job is a project manager at a pharma chemical company. But on the side, we're starting this new project, and I'm really interested in having these conversations with friends around relationships. So today, actually, we're going to be talking about how to date during COVID and some experiences that we might have had during dating during this time. It's definitely unprecedented, and dating is already challenging as it is in person. So we thought we'd
For
like to just
real.
thought we'd like to discuss how dating can be a little bit different due to COVID.
Yeah.
I'd also like to introduce Daphne here, who will be joining me during this conversation. We'll actually be
Yeah.
doing an interview type style where I'll ask Daphne some questions and she'll share her
hmm
experiences dating during COVID. So, would you like to introduce
Yeah.
yourself, Daphne?
Sure. My name is Daphne. I'm currently located in Los Angeles, California. My day job is a physical therapist. I work with mainly athletic adults, people who are pretty active and want to get back to their sport. Yeah, so we're going to talk about dating during quarantine this time around when everyone's stuck at home. It's a new situation for sure. It was interesting. It's an interesting time to be alive.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So before we get started, we're just going to do some housekeeping. Thank you all for joining us during our live stream. You should be able to see a chat function if you're on our YouTube page, and you're welcome to comment, say hi, throughout the conversation. We're also going to be taking Q&A at the end. So, feel free to engage with us, encourage us, give us shout outs.
Comments.
And
Great.
we will get to your questions after we answer some questions of ours first.
hmm All right.
All
This will be
right.
fun.
So maybe to start, Daphne, you can help us by giving us kind of a dating history, like pre-COVID, so we can compare that to during COVID and hopefully post-COVID once that's over.
Crossing our fingers is sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Let's see. So pre-COVID, I was single, still am single.
It's
Had
okay, girl.
relationships, single, ready to mingle in COVID. But in the past, I've had long-term relationships for the most part. And then that was back when I lived in Maryland, and then now I am here in California. Had one boyfriend, and then it was kind of short term, and then after that, just been kind of meeting people, taking it slow, going with the flow. It wasn't intentional with rhyming, by the way.
Okay, girl.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, not currently just on apps, chatting people, seeing what they're up to, getting the conversation going. So we'll kind of see where that goes in the future.
Yeah. I'm sure the dating landscape out in LA must be a lot of fun. I haven't been out there too many times, but the weather's nice.
Come on
There's
over,
plenty of
girl.
things to do.
We always want more people here in LA, obviously. Dating in LA is interesting. For a very large city, it's kind of hard to meet people. Like, you would be surprised just
Oh,
because, like, I think the older you get, so like I'm in my late 20s, right? So the older you get, I feel like it's harder to meet people because your life is work and then whatever you have time to fit on the weekends, right? So when you're back in school, you're able to meet people pretty easily because everyone's on one campus. You meet friends with friends, like you go out to events, you meet other people there. Whereas like here, you kind of have to curate those yourself. So you can either make that environment where you can meet people or you have friends introduce your friends, which takes a lot more effort than just like going to school to a school sanctioned event that you will already be at. Does that make sense?
yeah. I
So
think that's
then,
just
yeah.
general when you're outside of a forced
hmm
community, you kind of have to make your own communities, right? Especially if you're new to a
exactly.
place.
Yeah, no, thankfully I have my brother and sister-in-law out here, so I had family to start. But then even then, like I didn't really know that many people coming to LA. So meeting people was a challenge. had to get pushed out of my comfort zone just because in Maryland, that's where I grew up. So I had all my friends from grade school up until college, even through grad school, like in Virginia. So that's what 20 plus years of friendship that I like formed and cultivated. And then coming out here, it's like starting from scratch. So I had to figure out all over again how to make new friends, what it's like to do small talk, what it's like to actually start those relationships going, if that makes sense.
So
Um,
maybe you can share like where you found the most connections. Like what were you doing? Like you were
yeah.
trying to just find new activities, right?
Hmm.
You could do. So got any tips?
Yeah, do what you love, honestly. If you have fun doing something, I feel like that's the best way to meet people because those connections are more genuine. Met a lot of my friends through church because I'm a Christian, so I attend a church in Hollywood, and I got to meet a ton of people that way. Also, my coworker was super sweet, and then our environment's pretty small, so we was only like eight or nine of us in our office at any one time. And so he introduced me to some of his friends and then friends of friends, so that's how that happened. Another group of friends that I met randomly was at a concert because you're like enjoying music together. Then a friend knew another friend, and then they kind of snowballed from there. So now I have a group of friends that I would go on like ski trips with annually, and we meet up every now and then to go hang out. So just find what you love doing. For me, it's concerts, it's being with people from church, being involved in church, worshiping Jesus. Um, and then from there, that's how you make the most genuine connections because you're enjoying something genuinely. So
Great.
would
Thanks.
recommend.
Definitely thanks for those tips.
Yeah.
I feel like I just moved back home. Like I have an interesting story. So I'm actually
Hmm.
born and raised outside of the DMV, actually in Silver Spring. And I went away for school up to Massachusetts for about a decade for school and work.
Hmm.
And then I came back end of last year and I felt like I had to start from scratch too. So definitely
Yeah.
will take advantage of.
Yeah, girl, go do your thing, go do your running. I know you like to do. And then that's how you meet people. So form your
Yeah,
community. Yeah.
great. All right. Next question I have for you is maybe you can give us um, an overview of your general COVID dating experiences.
Yeah.
How would you summarize your experiences so far, right? We're like 3 months into
I
having to
know.
shut
Can you
down.
believe it's been that long?
Yeah,
How did we survive away from people for 3 months except for like your essentials, like going to groceries and things like
yeah.
that? Yeah.
This
So for I know this
Zoom.
online people, online friends, but so throughout COVID, from the start of March up until maybe like end of May, I was seeing this one guy. We met each other in person twice. One of them was an official date. The other was kind of where with a group of friends hanging out. And then after that, COVID happened. Everything shut down, and so everyone has different comfort levels of meeting. So since then, for the most part, a lot of our meetings and dating was all online. So it was all like through this face to face, like over Skype. Um, so that's the extent of my COVID dating experience so far. Really, I haven't really met anybody for social distancing hangs. Like everyone has different comfort levels with that. As a health professional, I'm in contact with people a lot, so I understand how people feel when
Mm,
like some of them are worried, some of them are not, some of them are how like a little bit more um not sensitive is what I'm looking for. They're more just wary of the whole situation, which is understandable. It's a
careful.
pandemic. Yeah. So for the most part, we've just been Skyping online because that's what you would do. And people that you generally used to work. It was pretty interesting to say the least. I do, however, have to say that I miss in-person contact as an extrovert, which is why I'm really glad to have my job. So I at least see people, but it's still not the same as like seeing your friends and a significant other in person. So
No, I totally
it
relate
was
with that.
yeah.
Just missing
Mhm.
in-person contact. I think once
Mhm.
we eventually get back to normal, like fully normal. I know some places are opening up now, but
Mhm.
once
Yeah,
we get back
yeah.
to fully normal, I think people, or at least I will appreciate like a hug so much more.
Oh my
You know,
gosh, I miss hugs. I love hugs.
even a handshake, like
I know. I know. I miss hugging my niece. Like my dog is really allowed to hug. She's like kind of chilling there, passed out. But
What's your dog's
I miss
name?
her name is Sweet Pea. She is a
Oh,
12-year-old Shetland sheepdog. She's a grandma, but still my forever puppy. So spends most of her days snoozing, but at least she gets to snooze on my very comfortable couch.
she looks very
She's
comfy.
out. But it's always nice to have a dog during quarantine. I have to say that's the one thing I'm really thankful for. I have to have a dog to cuddle, so that I at least have that.
Great. Maybe
Hmm.
you can share with us actually some of your fun COVID dates. You mentioned that you did some Skype dates.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, tell us about a fun one.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun ones actually. I can't say that it's been a most of COVID dating has been pretty fun. It hasn't been like surprising. I was surprised about it. But for the most part, with online dating, so obviously face-to-face conversations, so we would talk for like hours. Um, but then eventually, without meeting face-to-face and without having an extra life, you run out of things to talk about, right? So you had to figure something out from there. So what we did do was that we actually pulled in some friends, and then we had like double dates where we would play Settlers of Catan online. If you guys
Oh,
know
they
what
have
that
that?
is, they do. It's free. I can send you a link.
Is it like a flash version or something?
It's better than the Flash version. I mean, it's like very, very rudimentary because it's a free version online, but it's doable and you can like chat. So what you would do is you would pull up Zoom and all four of us would be on Zoom and then we would have like Settlers on the other screen. And so we'd be like trying to trade across the screen while we're
Oh
trading
my
on Settlers.
god.
Yeah, it was actually kind of entertaining. And then figuring out how to like trade online was kind of tricky because they had like certain things you have to click. But you can't make those deals like, oh, I'll give you nothing for now and I'll give it back to you like a couple of rounds later, which is what I used to do.
Oh, there's no
Yeah, you have to,
IOU.
there is no IOU, so it's like then and there, which was interesting. So that was one thing that we did, and then we also played like card games online, like Dominion, if you know what that is. It's like kind of like a strategy game where you have to, similar to Settlers, to get to like a certain number of points. And so there's like a game based online that we did that with. And then we would also binge watch shows together on Zoom. So like what used to happen is I was binge watching How to Get Away with Murder on ABC, and so that was like 6 seasons long. And he was
What?
like, "Oh, you should try watching it." I was like, "Okay." And then he was like, "Do you think you could finish it by the series finale?" And I was like, "When is the series finale?" And then he was like, "Oh yeah, it's in 3 weeks." And I was like, "You want me to binge 6 seasons in 3 weeks?" Challenge accepted.
I love
So
you,
like
girl.
mine, yeah, that's what I
Challenge
did in
accepted.
quarantine. But if you imagine 6 seasons worth is 6 years worth, so he has like he's been following it from like day one. I'd be
Yeah.
like just catching up, so he would like jump in with me on parts that I'd be watching, and
Oh,
so we would
okay.
like get on because he would get your refresher for him, and for me, it'd be something he'd be like, "Whoa!" Then we talk about it. That was something really fun that we did, and then yeah, that was about the extent of online dating. So you
It
figure
sounds
it out, you make it fun.
Yeah, it sounds like these activities are really like similar to ones you would do in person, but just
Exactly.
translated to the virtual version.
Oh yeah, yeah. So definitely it's better, of course, with the in-person interaction, but you know, you
Yeah.
make do with what you have. And then thankfully, like a lot of companies have thrown a lot of their games and things like that online. So you're able to actually do it during COVID. So a lot of people are catering to this like whole online community, which is
Oh,
really, really cool. And it definitely pushes you out of your comfort zone because you have to figure out like, okay, there's only so much you can talk about over Skype for hours, right? It's like unless you're like me and you, we'll like talk for literally hours. But in terms of like, especially when you're dating somebody, you kind of have to be able to make that connection somehow.
and
So that's what we get.
you're not very familiar with them, right? You don't really know all their quirks yet.
No,
So,
yeah, exactly. And there's only so much you can talk about. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to get them like, so usually with a relationship in person, what I found is that it's about experiences together. So you go and do
yeah.
stuff, right? When you go and do stuff together, you find out like who they are as a person, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, what their pet peeves and quirks might be. And so you try to like kind of mimic that on an online basis. Yeah, granted, there's only so much you can do online though.
For
So
sure. It
yeah,
makes
that's
me
the one thing.
wonder with all of the ways that people are able to adapt,
Hmm.
having being stuck at home. Like, do you
Right.
think this is not related to dating anymore, but do you think our whole world could operate if everyone was just indoors, except for like, people moving things
Mm,
around, right? Distribution will still have to happen, delivery will still have to happen.
yeah,
But
yeah. I
I feel like we could if like everyone could
we
work,
could.
from home.
Yeah.
Kind of
Well, there'll be
crazy.
way less traffic on the 495 where you are, way less traffic on where I am too. Everyone could work from home, you know? That would cut down like commutes by like what,
Yeah.
hours and save a ton of gas, ton of greenhouse gases. So we would have a great environment. I think it's possible. It's very possible, whether or not mental health wise, if it'll be the
Yeah.
healthiest thing, because I feel like people need that in-person interaction to like to go outside. So even like
For
during
sure.
quarantine, right? I don't know about how you felt about this, but like I felt like I would stay in my apartment for too long. I'd be like get really antsy. So like I need to go out and do something. Like I need to change
I
the
know.
scenery. So thankfully I have my dog to take out on walks with me. So I'll do that. And then I used to go into work during quarantine as well to like work out because I had that gym available. So it's possible. Whether or not people will want to is a different
Yeah,
story.
I don't think
But
people want to. I don't want
I don't know,
to.
how would you feel like being indoors and like not having to go into work in person? What do
You
you think?
know, I think if people never knew what it was like to be outside, like if we were just born into this
We
world,
were
like
mole
it
people?
would be fine.
That is true. That
But
is true.
I've even heard like introverts struggling with being indoors.
I
Not to say that
know.
introverts are homebodies, but introverts get energy by being
Hmm.
by themselves, and even introverts are saying like we need people. So I think
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Oh.
just a part of human nature to need connections with people.
Hmm. Yeah, I was really surprised. One of my friends, he's not introverted and like he likes to be on his own and like spend time with reflection. He's like, I might be an extrovert after this is all over. Like I can't do this anymore. And I'm like, that's how you know you need people. So we crave that
Yeah,
interaction, but like also like being indoors all the time is not great for you. Go outside and get your vitamin D, people, because it's better getting it from the sun than over supplements. Health professional
true,
plug.
true.
All right.
Speaking of, you
Mhm.
know, there are definitely differences between virtual dating and in-person dating,
Mhm.
as you've
Yeah.
experienced. Maybe you can
Yeah.
help explain it in some ways where you found it to be a little bit different, because you're still able to find ways to interact or mimic
Mhm.
some types of reactions online. You
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
everything. So what's the difference for you from going from, in person to virtual, even with the person that you had dated?
Yeah. Exactly. That's a really good question. I think for virtual dating versus in person, so I'm a very in person person. That's why I'm a health professional, right? So I'm a physical therapist. We're in person all the time. We're like talking to people, getting energy from people. And that for me is the most important thing is like, what is your energy like? Like, how can I read you? There's a lot of these like really subtle nonverbal cues that's not just like you can see, but you can kind of feel too in terms of that kind of vibe that person
Okay.
gives out. It gives you a lot in terms of like how your energy is and how you reflect off of each other. So like when someone's like, "Oh yeah, I'm really vibing with you," like you get that energy from each other. You're like really enthusiastic together, or like you kind of as if they're like a little off sometimes, or you can't really tell about that over FaceTime. So you kind of have to actually be more vocal. I feel like with virtual dating, with communication, right? You have to be able to talk a lot, and your talking has to be like expressive, and it can't just be like monotonous, like, "Oh yeah, my day was fine," and blah blah blah. You're just be like, "Ugh." So I'm a very animated person, and so I like that. That's okay for me. But I think for me personally, and being in person with somebody is so much more life giving because of the fact that it's not just like a warm body next to you, but you can see and feel and touch and hear, and that's why we have like all these senses that are super important. That's like how we live our lives, and that's how we learn about our surroundings. That's how you learn about another person. So I feel like in-person dating is just one of like the face-to-face interaction is huge. That's why I don't think online virtual dating is sustainable if you never see each other in person, unfortunately. Um, I mean, it's the same thing as like a long distance relationship, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, with long distance, I'm sure as you can like attest to, it's hard because it's depending on how far apart you are, you only have so much time. Whereas like, if you're in person and you can see each other in person, it's a lot different. Does that make sense? So if you're at a long distance, like props to you guys for being able to do it. You guys, all my viewers who are
Mhm.
watching this, who are like in long distance relationships, like go you, mad props to you. Um, I think it's hard because you have to be able to do that online interaction and to be able to have that sustain you. But actually, what I realized that you were talking to the guy that I was dating about this is that dating through COVID is like dating through long distance relationships, right? Because you can't
Yeah.
see each other in person. And so what tends to happen is that with long distance, at least like you have that end date. You always plan on seeing this person at that date. So like you have something to look forward to. Whereas COVID, it's like a perpetual state of like, oh, they're gonna extend our quarantine from like May into June into July, and then next month, 8 months later, you still haven't had a specific date where you're going to see each other in person. And that's super hard because you don't really have something to like look forward to as a concrete stop.
Mhm.
And I feel like also we were talking about this when you're dating someone long distance on a regular basis, right? So you have things that you're doing throughout the day, things that you're sharing with each other. So like at least you can talk about something with your significant other online. Like you're not going to be hanging out with the same people. You're going to be at least out doing stuff. You
Okay.
talk about
Yeah.
that experience, right? So at least you have stuff to share. It's different every day. Like, oh, like how was work? Oh, I did this. I met this person. Did this. Blah blah. Like that happy hour, and then like, oh, how was hanging with your friends? And so it's like a different thing. Whereas like COVID, it's like, how was work? It was good. I worked from home. What'd you do today? Oh, nothing. Sat on my couch, watched some Netflix, read a book,
Meal
play with my
prep.
dog, meal prep, cook. And that's about the extent of your conversation sometimes, And so that gets a
Okay.
little dicey, a little hard to be able to continue that kind of good energy with conversation. So that's like those are the biggest like differences for me for virtual versus in person.
Okay.
Yeah,
I totally relate to all of that, by the way.
I can only
It's
imagine, girl.
difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what else I got here for you. Maybe you can share any bad COVID date experiences you might have had.
There was really only
Or a
one
fun
date
one.
that was like but like 99% of the entire dating experience was great. But then there was this one date because he's a thinker. Whereas like I'm a very like expressive person. So when you think strategy game, sometimes he gets like completely zoned into the game and he's just like thinking. And so I'm the kind of person who's like super chatty while I'm playing, like, hey, what you doing? What's up? Blah blah blah. Oh my goodness. And I would like literally verbalize all of my emotions. And then he was the kind of person who's like, let me think about this. And he was like stare at the screen and I'm like, hello.
What
So
game
there was
was
one.
this?
It was Dominion. Have you ever played? It's like a
Oh,
strategy game. And so,
no.
oh my gosh,
I
dude,
don't think I'd
he was
like
so
it.
good at that.
Honestly,
It's
like I've played Settlers before, and I'll play it just to be social. And my
mm-hmm,
friends can they probably remember when I used to play with them. But like, I mean, I'm competitive for some things, but definitely not
mm-hmm.
really long. I don't have a lot
Yeah.
of patience for long games, and like Settlers
Yeah.
can be like hours, you know.
Yeah.
And actually,
Yeah.
I saw one
Oh
of our
my gosh.
viewers that said, based off of his experiences, ruins more relationships than creates
Oh
relationships.
my god.
And I
So
still
true.
actually I remember getting really mad at like the person that I was dating at the time when we were playing Settlers together. So
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know.
Yes.
Maybe caution that one. It can go either way.
Exactly. I mean, like, so the guy that was it, he's a very competitive spirit, which is great. Like, it drives him to do better, drives him to do more. Where I'm kind of just like, let's just go have fun. This is fine. And kind of just like, oh, you can win. It's fine, whatever. And it wasn't fun for him. So, like, when I was learning Dominion, it's a really hard game to play. It's easier, I can see when you play it in person with somebody because it could be really interactive and you're seeing like how they play. But then if you do it like online and have no basis of how to do it, like you even tend to like read online directions, watch YouTube,
Oh yeah.
but they have that, but it's just not the same as like watching it play, right? So for him, like he got it right away. He's like a logic guy. He thinks well. Like he like super competitive and like beat me the first time, and I was like, whatever. And so it wasn't as fun for him. And then for me, it
Oh
wasn't fun for me
yeah.
either because like he was like thinking and I wasn't, and so I was like very chatty and he wasn't. So I was like, eh.
It
So
sounds
then
like
actually,
go ahead.
yeah. No, just saying, like, so I felt bad, right? So I actually learned how to play the game and I play like rounds with my friends too. Got decent at it and actually run for his money the next time. So there was that.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
You go
yeah,
girl, you go girl.
yeah. I mean, I can't be losing all the time, right? I gotta have some show like some face.
That's funny. It sounds like you guys went in with different like intentions the first
Mhm.
couple of times, right? Like he just really sounds like he really wanted to just play and win, and you just
Mhm.
wanted to chat with him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, like some people are a bit of both. At least like Settlers of Catan is more interactive because you're actually like talking about trades and like strategy and like things like that. Whereas like some games that are like more one-on-one are a bit harder to foster that kind of connection. So you're right. Like for me, dating is like very verbal. So and like and emotional. So when I relate to somebody, I like to talk a lot, I sense their energy and like what that's like. And that's sort of for everybody. And I
Mm-hmm.
think again, it just depends on how well you know the person, like how much you're willing to put into the effort in to get to know each other over this time. And um, yeah, it's different. It's just a different ball game altogether to be dating during COVID and away from people for sure. Oh
You're
my
so
gosh.
right though that there is a little bit of different energy versus like
Mhm.
online versus in person.
Yeah.
Actually, I was chatting with someone and I met him initially like online, right? So we
Mhm.
met through a dating app. So we would do like FaceTime calls, like regular FaceTime
Yeah.
calls. And then we actually agreed to meet up, like social distancing at a park. Um,
Mhm.
and the energy was way different in
Isn't that
person.
nuts? How
It's just
crazy different?
it's like backwards, you know? Like
Yeah,
Usually you meet someone in person and then you go virtual. But it was really interesting
exactly.
meeting this person online, and then
Hmm.
I don't know, you would think that if you had energy online that you would have the
Yeah.
same energy in person, but it didn't work out, needless to say.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's really, really different. I think you're right. I didn't realize that you're so because you would chat online, but it's just like you're texting and then
Yeah.
your next interaction is supposed to be in person, depending on how they feel. Um, and it's very different. I didn't even think about that.
But it's
This is
interesting
another like
because
food
we
for
went
thought.
from text to phone call to
Mm-hmm.
FaceTime and then to in
Mm-hmm.
person. So we
Oh, you
kind of
went
went,
like in step, like
yeah.
text to phone call. Dang girl, look at you.
But it's supposed to make sense, but it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me, I don't know, just from this experience chatting with people virtually, whether video or via text, I actually thought about trying to get to know someone a little better virtually before meeting up with them in
Yeah.
person, like post COVID. Like that was going to be my strategy, like after
That was
COVID, like
well,
to
what do you think?
kind of
How do you feel
like,
about that?
like interviews, right? You do your like phone
Mm-hmm.
interview first and then you do it
Yeah,
in person.
yeah. Dude, my interview for my work, I had four over Skype interviews before they saw me in person.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, I probably wouldn't do that, but I
Mm-hmm,
considered,
mm-hmm.
going this route. But I don't know that I would anymore. Just like knowing that it's very different, it could be very
Yeah,
different.
yeah. And I feel
Um,
like when you see someone in person, you get a better idea of who they are, because like you can be like a keyboard warrior, right? Over like online, you see someone in person and just like you're just like, that's not who I imagine over the key behind the keyboard.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the same thing. I feel like over text and in person. Even on the phone, they might sound like different.
And it goes both ways too. It's like some
Mm-hmm.
keyboard warriors are kind of awkward in person, and
Mm-hmm.
then some people that don't know how to like not know how, but they don't text that frequently. Like they don't have
Mm-hmm.
conversations via
Yeah.
text.
They
They're
have like a
great in person.
boisterous energy. Exactly. You're like,
Yeah.
wait a
So
second. That's the thing.
it's
It's kind of a disconnect. So it's again, or you never know what you could get. So ideally, I think for COVID, just give the person the chance. You just never know. So
yeah.
there it is.
Well, is there okay, so here's my next question. Are there
Ooh.
any like potential deal breakers that you might
Mm,
have from dating somebody like during COVID, meeting them virtually, right? You're saying give people a
yeah.
chance. Like, yes, we should.
Hmm.
But if something
Yes.
happened during like a date during COVID and you're just like,
Yeah.
nope, red flag, deal breaker, what is that?
For me, it's just the verbiage that they use over text. Usually, they'll give me an
Okay.
idea. So I was chatting with this guy not too long ago. He matched with me on Coffee Meets Bagel, and then so I was chatting with him, and then he would ask me all these questions about being an Asian failure, and I was like, "Excuse
Oh
because
no.
you were just like talking about like career stuff, and so he was bringing up like all the Asian stereotypes of like being good at your job and being smart at math and blah blah blah. And he asked me, he was like, um, so like, and your family, are you like the Asian family in your family? And I was like, excuse me, no. First of all, I have a doctorate, thank you very much. And second of all, like what? And so immediately I was like, hey, I'm not vibing with this convo at all. Like good luck to you, wish you all the best. And that was it.
Oh my
That
gosh.
that was a little frightening. I was like, I don't know. I think so. Granted, people might not be great at texting, but I feel like you're able to craft these better when you have more time. You know what I mean? So,
Oh.
right, because you're not like in person, face to face, and get what to do like right there. If like you slip up on something in
Yeah.
person, like that's fine. That happens because you're nervous. But I think if you're over text, you have the time to craft that response, right? And so if they come up with responses like that, they're like seemingly very negative and just like very self-deprecating. And I'm just like, yeah, this energy over text has been great. I don't know if I want to have like even like I'm like kind of doubtful that it would be different in person. Like, granted, he could be just nervous over text, that's the thing. But for me personally, like as someone who values verbs and like verbiage and communication very much, I think if you're not able to do it in a way that is seemingly less stressful, like over
Hmm.
text, I feel like that could be a red flag for me. But again, everyone is different, so you just never know, right? So it's up to you if you feel like that's something that you still want to explore, or maybe just get them off chat right really quick. Maybe they're just bad at texting. You never know. Another red flag would be if they like don't text at all, and they would expect
Okay.
you to just kind of like figure it out at the day of our date. They're like, "Hey, you slept for a date," and I was like, "I haven't heard from you all week, and you want to go on a date with me? Okay." Um, Kind of like a yellow flag. I would still go on that date, but it's just kind of like, oh, it's kind of weird. But again, if it's like a first date, fine. If it's like a second, third date, kind of like, oh, like how interested are you? Is it worth pursuing? Because despite the fact that we're in quarantine, our time is still valuable. We could be using that time to like be communicating with our own friends that we're really close to and getting that kind of enjoyment and energy. Because like for me personally, I get a lot of being filled is really important. So like when we're giving a lot, it gets really exhausting, right? So
Yeah.
you're not really feeling like you're filled by someone else, by like a brand new person that you meet. Like it's a lot of small talk. And so small talk is exhausting for me because I do it all day at my job.
Oh,
I
okay.
I like doing it, but it's not, it doesn't make you feel whole or feel full. Whereas like you talk to a friend and all of a sudden it's like a different energy, because you know each other really well. You can vibe off each other. Like to you isn't excuse me, it's not exhausting. It gives me a lot of energy because they're like, batting back and forth. And like we had that kind of rapport. Whereas like someone you just never know. So that kind of energy, it takes more energy out of you, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
It takes work
Yeah,
to get those conversations going too, right?
exactly.
Um,
Exactly. I don't know what your experience with that is in terms of like energy and giving that in person,
oh no,
first dates.
I totally get that. Actually, one of
Excuse me.
the men that I was talking to, and I say was because we're not anymore. Part of the reason
Mm-hmm.
is because I didn't feel that energy from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and the people. I don't know if you've seen those memes. It's like if that boy's
Mm-hmm.
not texting you during COVID, like he doesn't have other plans, so he should be texting
Exactly.
you.
What's he doing on the way? It means
And
he
I
don't like
get
you
it
enough.
too.
I'm just kidding.
I get it too because I think everyone's experience during COVID is a little bit different.
For sure.
In terms of how they're managing their stress, or maybe there's more
Hmm.
stress,
Yeah, yeah. I think all that into account too. I
just
mean,
having to
this whole.
adjust to a different lifestyle. Like for me
Hmm.
personally, I had a pretty good like active routine before
Hmm.
COVID happened,
I hear you, girl.
and
Same here.
they were outlets, for me. Like I
Hmm.
actually do I take boxing classes,
Ooh, look at
so if
you, badass over here. Ooh.
so when I'm like frustrated, I go to boxing twice a week. I get all out, and then I'm
Hmm.
good. But a lot of the things that I did um, for these activities are not at home. So I
Right.
never really found an equal replacement at home. I
Hmm.
started running, which I'm not very good at. But everyone's COVID experience is different. So I think you
Yeah.
have to also be a little understanding and forgiving that this is like a crazy time for a
Yeah.
lot of people. But
You're so right.
but at the same time, you also have needs, right? So for me
Hmm.
personally, I needed someone to be consistently in touch with me. It doesn't have to be every
Yeah.
day and like not every
Yeah.
second, um,
Yeah.
but not feeling like they were interested to reach out and chat
Yeah. That's
um,
super important. I feel
caused me
like that.
stress.
Yeah, yeah. I think that does sound really stressful because you're just still waiting in a way. You're like, is that person
Yeah.
going to text me? Like, we don't want to admit. I don't want to that goes into. I was like, when is that person going to text me back? But like we do think about it, and it's there, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it's like it's in everyone's brain. And you're so right. Like everyone's energy level during this time is so different because of the fact that it's a really emotional time for a lot of people. Whether or not there's like the fear of being infected, there's the fear of just the virus itself. There's the stress of possibly work, if their work might not be the most steady thing, like being furloughed or things like that, or unemployed, or
Yeah.
maybe like their company is going through a lot of stress right now financially, and if they're in charge of that too. Those are really good points, and I think people should be at least be communicative about it too. That's like something you can talk about too to get to know the person better. Like what are some things that you struggle with during COVID, and like
Hmm.
there's a whole lot of things that people were going to say about that too, because it's not just like the job aspect, but it's also like the social aspect of missing people and like craving that in-person interaction that does have a huge effect. So you're so right about that, and it's definitely like a big thing to consider when you're dating now.
I've got a
Yeah.
hypothetical question for you. So let's say you have that
Yeah.
conversation, right? You find
Uh-huh.
out that this person was like, hypothetically, this person you're dating was furloughed, they're really stressed, they just can't give
Yeah.
you the attention that you want or they want to give you. Maybe
Mhm.
someone they know is ill, so they're just really
Oh,
stressed out
that's
about that.
tough.
This is like
Mhm.
really bad case scenario.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
that's so
then they let
extreme.
you know that they're not interested, or not interested, not that they're not interested, but they just can't, they need to take a pause, right? Given the
Yeah.
current climate. How would you feel like would you be okay with that? And if they reached out to you after
Yeah.
to try
Yeah.
again?
Sure. I mean, that's basically what happened. So the reason why we like stopped the previous guy that I had that like long-term interaction with, we stopped because this was exhausting because we both had like stressors on both of our ends, like, being stressed about work and being stressed about just the environment of coronavirus, not having that end date. And we were like, this is probably not the best time for both of us. So as long as you're able to communicate that kind of need and you're not just like, cutting it off and ghosting. Try not to ghost, guys. It's not fun to be ghosted. And one ghosting is like, I'm guilty of it before. I try not to do it anymore, but it's just not something that it's not how you treat a human. So as long as you're able to communicate that, and as long as you can voice how you feel, and at least make an open conversation about it and be honest. That's the hardest thing is like to be vulnerable with someone that you barely know, but at the same time, like
Mm,
treating them like a human. So if they're not up for it, that's fine. I mean, go for it. Thank you for telling me. You like
yeah,
at least you acknowledge the fact that they were able to tell you that because sometimes it's not hard. It's not easy to talk about. Um, so affirm that, and then if they still want to get lunch with you afterwards or get coffee or social distance date when they're like ready, that's fine. Depending on where you guys both are at, like if you tell us anybody else, let them know that too. Don't just be like, peace out. Uh, but just be honest, and I think that's the best policy. And it's easier said than done for sure. So no pressure, just do what you're comfortable with. And again, just remember that people are people, people have needs, and people ultimately need an avenue and they need to just feel like they're still valued in this time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any
Hmm.
tips for anyone that usually ghosts, right? But they're gonna try this.
Yeah.
Like how would
Yeah.
you phrase that? Because I know for me personally,
Hmm.
sometimes I'm a little bit nervous to like
Oh,
not
it's not an
reject,
easy sentence. It's not an easy
not
conversation.
reject, but
Yeah.
sometimes when you do like, let someone know you're no longer interested, they kind of get,
Hmm.
I don't know, nasty's not the right
Yeah.
word, but they're not so nice.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like,
So
oh, what? Yeah. They kind of recoil a little bit, huh?
yeah, so do you have any recommendations on, how you
Yeah.
can politely let someone know?
Politely is always the best policy, I find. But if worse comes to worse, you can, at the very, very least, guys, just send a text. Be like, hey, I'm so sorry I wasn't vibing with this, but best of luck to you and all the best. And that's all you have to say. At the very least, send them that text. If you feel brave enough to do it on the phone, if you had a couple interactions or you want to do it over FaceTime, props to you, man. That is nerve wracking. A lot of these conversations I've only had maybe like one or two in person like that, and I'm just like, whew. But as long as you're able to text it, so something that I always say if I'm not vibing, I'm like, hey, I enjoyed our conversation, but I'm not really vibing with this, so I think it's best to see other people. But best of luck to you. Stay safe and leave it at that. If
Oh,
they
I
choose to
like
reply,
that.
great, and if they don't, that's fine. Life goes on.
Okay.
Especially if these are people that you are only gonna like talk to for the first time and then never see them again, hopefully, if you're doing online apps. So that should be pretty simple if you're able to do that. And again, like yeah, you can even like look up templates online. I was actually looking at one time, I was googling how do I send a rejection text and what is the phrasing like? And so
You can find that
I did.
online?
You can find it online. It's like what is the best, like the most gentle way to let somebody down?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Someone
I
said block
never,
them. Try not to do that.
that's
I mean, you
mean.
could though. Yeah. I mean, you can block them after you send that text. Up to you. But at
All
least get
right.
that out there. At least get that out there. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh man.
So we
Yeah.
talked a little bit about, your past dating experience, a little bit
Mhm.
more about dating during COVID, which is the topic of today.
Mhm.
What do you think the future of COVID dating is going to be like for you? Because we don't
Oh
know.
man.
I mean, looking at the numbers, like it's really unpredictable.
Yeah.
I'm no scientist, but I would predict we're probably going to be in this for a little bit longer, especially
I would
considering
agree.
sites are, oh, not sites, but places are reopening and,
We're just
people are,
waiting.
yeah. So what's
Yeah.
the future of dating, COVID dating looking like for you?
I think, oh man, honestly, I'm not going to be able to have just a strictly virtual relationship. That's difficult for me.
Okay.
So within reason, guys, I'm not saying go out and meet all the people in person. if you feel like you've both been tested negative, you both know that you haven't been in contact with people, I would say social distancing, hang out 6 feet apart, no touching, masks on, doing all the right precautions. You can sit out in a park on a bench 6 feet apart and do that. I think that will most likely be the future of that. And then when further, then take other precautions and like start, maybe quarantining yourself for 14 days, things like that, just to be careful because you don't want to get them sick. You don't want to get sick too. So it's definitely a risk. Um, I think in terms of like the use of technology, it's going to definitely have to play a huge part in the future of online dating, just because your relationship will most likely be online if you don't choose to meet in person, which is fine. More power to you if you're able to do that. I know people who have. But for me personally, it's probably gonna have to be like social distancing hangs because I'm working with patients a lot, and I'm sure like my patients want to be safe. I don't want to keep my patients safe. I want to keep myself safe. So if anything, like everything open air, everything outside, everything 6 feet apart or larger. And just again, that's going to be the extent of the future, I feel like. But hopefully we'll be able to find a vaccine soon and not have to worry so much. But just be smart. My friend is like, no kissing, which is true.
True. We're gonna have to get creative, right? No more coffee dates, or I mean, I get it's kind of hard to drink coffee while you have a mask on. You can't go out to dinner.
I mean, you can get picnics at the park, So what I felt like my roommate and I would do this. We have like Sunday fun day. We go out and take out food, and then we like either sit outside or bring it back to our apartment and eat it together. But you could do that, like get takeout food from like your favorite places, and like do that. Sharing food. By the way, you're gonna share food. Have like a serving spoon so you don't contaminate it. But you can do things like that too. So just get creative. I think it'll push your limits in terms of like comfort zone and in terms of like creativity, but you never know what you're going to be able to do until you do it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. My question for you though, how do you see that in the future playing out?
So actually, maybe I can give a little bit of my history. So when COVID happened, I was seeing someone like casually in person, but I was also like interviewing other people because we weren't exclusive, So I was chatting with some people at the beginning of COVID, some that I hadn't met, right? I hadn't met anyone. And it was exhausting because everyone's, on the apps. So it was
everyone, that no one is not going to be not on the apps at this time.
Yeah. So like it was probably the first month, like 2 months, that I was trying to talk to a couple different people, and this person that I had started seeing before shut down, and it got too exhausting. Like you have to take time for yourself too. I think one of the great things about being single is you do have all your time for yourself, and you get to allocate your
make
time.
that time.
Yeah. But then you talk about like when you're dating, sometimes it's stressful if you're waiting, for a text, right? So take that times how many other people are you talking to? And you're also trying to show your energy that you're interested too, right? So
and it's hard with just one person, like multiple.
It was a lot for me. And this is a little embarrassing, but I was trying to keep my story straight with them too. Like they would tell them facts about themselves to me, but I didn't want to forget it. So I actually was taking notes on the people.
Oh shoot, that's also true. Good point.
Like I had to remember, like, oh, this guy is an oldest child. He has like a brother. Like I was taking notes.
Get all like the profiles right for each guy because that way you can remember.
And I figured, if I ended up with one, I just gotta like review that one line of information and I'm good. But it got too exhausting, honestly.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I really appreciated like quarantine time for myself. So I actually like stopped talking to all of them. Focusing on me. And there's other relationships that I want to maintain right now too, with my girlfriends, with my family specifically.
Family is super important. Yeah.
It's fine. Like, and I also I think what I like about dating is doing things together, like experiences, like you said, right? But there's not a lot of things you can do together right now.
I mean, hiking is one, as long as your hikes are open and you're 6 feet apart on the trail.
It is so hard hiking with a mask, though.
It is so difficult. Yo.
I tried.
Dude, I tried to work out with a mask at work and I was lifting and I was like,
Yeah. No, just no. So I'm chilling. I
Mhm.
can't wait till things reopen back up so that I can, do fun things and,
Yeah, I hear that.
with dates.
Good.
But
It's gonna be a wild card for that, dude. I mean, everything in LA is opening up right now. So bars open yesterday, gyms open yesterday, and like, so people are starting to flood the streets. My neighborhood's a lot busier, so we'll see where that goes. Hopefully things will still stay safe or like even out, so they won't have that like a spike in cases. But more people, more contact. My friend
yeah,
does have a question though. So, what was your best experience during COVID dating? So, I can share first.
sure.
My best experience was that binge watching a show together was actually pretty fun, especially if you're both super into it, because like you get really excited about certain things and like you would just interact with the show because like you would just unmute and we're like, oh my god, did you see that? We're like, oh shoot, and then we were just like you see each other's faces too as we're watching it. So if you want to binge watch a show together, would recommend. I know they have Netflix Party, but I feel like that's kind of hard because it's just over chat. So if you're able to like open like a different window to have like a Zoom
Oh,
meeting, yeah, yeah. But that was mine. But how about yours?
actually, my favorite experience was so this person that I was dating,
Mhm.
we actually both really enjoyed beer pong.
Oh shoot,
And so what
nice.
we did was we actually set up our like own beer pong like setup, and we
That's
called each other on
amazing.
FaceTime, and we played beer pong with
Yes,
each other
girl.
on FaceTime.
So like you toss the ball, you land it, he would like take that cup for you. Is that what happened?
No, 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 no. So I took my own cups. So
Oh, you took
basically,
your
I
own cups.
I
Okay.
had the cups, however far away, and we actually
Hmm.
we took a measuring tape to measure this out
You
too.
took a oh, it got serious. You guys got like game standards. Okay, I
Yeah,
see you.
we didn't have the same cups. Like that would have been, like legit. But
It's okay.
we measured out the distance, and then I actually put my phone. I didn't have a phone stand at the time, so I stuck it in
Mhm.
like this cup so that it could be raised.
Yes. Yeah.
So the phone is right in front of the cups, and then I was standing however far back. But you do have to have, because I borrowed my sister's AirPods.
Nice. Nice. Yeah,
Otherwise, it's hard.
wireless, super important.
Yeah, otherwise you can't really hear what's going on.
Hmm. That's also true.
So that was a lot of fun. But honestly,
Nice. That's a good idea.
that was fun. But like he totally beat me because I wasn't really trying to play. Like I just thought it was cool that we.
That's a great story to tell, honestly. And it's super creative. Go you, man. I would never have thought of that.
So
But
yeah, there's definitely things you can do.
yeah, yeah. I just gotta create. Okay. So I mean, that kind of bridges on to like our like how to date during COVID, like equipment, right? So
Yeah.
remember we were talking about that.
We wanted to leave you guys before we get into the Q&A. I'll leave you guys with a
Hmm.
couple tips, right? Like from your perspective, what's some equipment you need for COVID dating?
Hmm.
What tips do you have for someone that's trying to get into
Yeah.
COVID dating that they haven't, if they haven't already?
Yeah. Those are all good questions. So highly, highly, highly recommend wireless earphones. You don't have them, get them. Just because you have more freedom to move around, so you're not stuck to your computer, your device. Because like having just like a string there, you can't really do anything. So you have to take it literally everywhere with you. Also, you can't really gesture with a phone. Like I like to use my hands a lot. So mind me if I do
Hey.
this. Exactly. So definitely do that. Lighting is important. So at least have like you're able to see your face because
Mhm.
that's like the majority of what this interaction is, right? So try to have like a well lit room or something you can see each other visibly that makes it um, easier and like brighter. Um, and this is kind of hard work, but like maybe once in a while, like put on a face, girls. Like if you just in case, like
True.
you know what I mean? Because it's nice to dress up. I enjoy putting makeup on. Granted, like I'm glad I don't have to put it on like 99% of the time, but the 1% that I do, because I have fun with that too. And I think like in a way, it's like nice to like at least put on like some effort. Like you don't have to dress super nicely, just like you know maybe put on like a brighter smile. You never know.
I feel that. I think
Yeah, girl.
for me, it's like the routine, right? Like, oh, you're getting ready for a date.
Mhm.
So I actually had a Zoom date one time with someone and his friends, and that was the first
Oh,
time that I met
nice.
him.
The
I met him for
double
the first.
date. Ooh,
I met him for the first time at a Zoom party with his friends,
ooh, dang girl.
and so yeah, I was getting ready and it was exciting, like
Yeah.
you put on a nice shirt, like you look good.
Hmm.
It mimics a little bit of
Some sort of
getting ready for a real
normalcy.
date. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I hear you. How about you? Do you have anything that you want to make sure that's like a must do for COVID dating? What do
Um,
you think?
Definitely the mic piece. I had a
Mm-hmm.
Zoom date one time where I wasn't plugged in correctly and my laptop mic is
Mm,
not that great. So
mm-hmm.
whether it's, the AirPod like earbud or whether it's another
Yeah,
mic, definitely important.
I would agree.
Um, what else? I would say having a beverage like tea or
Beverage,
or
tea,
liquor, if that's your
ooh,
beverage of choice.
wine
Um,
also works. Very
yeah,
kombucha, if that's your thing.
because I feel like when you're chatting with someone, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if there's an. I guess I'm kind of weird, but if there's an awkward pause, like I'll just like I'll sip my drink just to fill the
Like,
awkward pause.
yeah, just pinkies up.
Something for you to do, right? Other than
Classy.
just like sitting in
Exactly.
front of
Mm-hmm.
a laptop. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
internet is important
Yeah.
too.
Internet. Oh my God, so important. Make sure your internet works and it's not super laggy. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves. So sometimes like my internet gets kind of shoddy, so I have to like I kind of use my phone a lot more just because sometimes like in LA for some reason Spectrum's not great at all. So I just use our phone signal, which is better. So that definitely works. McDonald's Wi-Fi was a suggestion if you want to go there.
Oh, okay, okay,
um, but
cool.
yeah. So
So
I
do
guess like what's that?
want to go to the chat questions
Yeah,
that we
let's go
have
to
in
the
our
chat
chat box?
questions. Yeah, let's do that. I'm not
Um,
sure why mine isn't loading.
oh, hold on. I need to go to the live chat here.
Let's see. Not top chat. What is it? How do we access this?
Okay, I'll ask one that I read.
Sure,
There
go
is
for it.
a viewer who's asking if there's any suggestions in substituting physical interactions with something that can be done virtually. So we mentioned kind of the games.
Mm-hmm.
You can play beer pong virtually, as I learned.
Beer pong virtually, yes. That could work.
Any other thoughts?
Uh, they have actually online like virtual museum tours you can try. I know I've had friends
Mhm.
who have tried that. They're not exactly like you walk through them tour it, but you can definitely walk through like art exhibits and like, tell us how you feel about that. Another way I thought if I was like really fun actually was to be able to have dinner in person. So I kind of mimic that dinner interaction. So you guys would like would have dinners, you'd be eating. Granted, however, my friend did point out that like she was just distracted by chewing the whole time. So if you're that
Oh,
person, then maybe not the best idea, but just like to have some sort of like sense of normalcy and physical interaction then. Um, that's a challenging thing because it's just the energy. So you kind of have to be, I feel like, a bit more conscious about being animated too, you know?
yeah. Okay. I haven't done
Let's
that, the museum tour.
see.
I've seen a bunch of them.
Someone else asked about, oh no, my internet's like kind of wonky. This is what I mean.
Don't
Okay,
be like Daphne.
sorry about that. Okay. Yes. Ugh, this is why Spectrum. I miss my
That's
Verizon
okay.
Fios in Maryland, man. It was so good.
All right.
Let's see.
Um,
You have another question.
Would you like me to read it to you? It says, what's a good
Yes.
post-COVID first date idea after you've done virtual dating, after you've virtually dated someone for a while? So basically you met them virtually, you're chatting with them, and then you decided
Yeah.
you're gonna risk your health, you're gonna socially
Yeah.
distance. What
Yeah.
would be your first like in-person date?
I think what I would do is either get coffee and go on a patio somewhere because right now a lot of patios in LA are open. So you get a coffee,
Okay.
sit socially distance from each other, either like at a park or something, or maybe at the patio there at the coffee shop and do that. Also like post COVID in general, guys, I am a big patio person. So we can go find a patio or a rooftop just to like just be outside is what I would
Okay.
usually do. Because a lot of breweries, I know breweries in the DMV are open. So if you go to like Southern Virginia where all like a ton of land is,
Oh, it's not a
you could
bad
go there
idea.
because it's like a lot of land. The air is fresh down there. You get those trees, they're gorgeous. Bluemont Vineyards in Virginia has the best view. They also have the most like this gorgeous patio that overlooks the entire valley that is Southern Virginia.
I'm
So
taking notes
definitely
on
doing
this.
that. Yeah, girl, I got a whole list for you. Like, also, guys, Leesburg, Old Town Leesburg is a gem. Okay, if you ever have the time to drive through Old Town Leesburg, and then that area alone has like 6 or 7 clusters of wineries. It is nuts, like 10, 15 minutes from each other. Why I know that? Because I used to live there for grad school, and so obviously, what you do during grad school to de-stress, you find the best cheap deals to go out and have fun, which is a lot happening with happy hour down there. And they also have weekend happy hours too, which is like huge.
Oh, I have to take a
Hmm.
trip down there sometime.
Yeah, definitely do that. Let's
So
see.
how to date Daphne? Basically, you take her out to a patio and chat, and
Exactly.
or patio with wine. That's like the
Ooh,
best.
ooh, if there was wine involved, especially rosé or like a Pinot Grigio, I am there. Also, if there's a really nice patio, got a comment. If you see plants there, guys, I'm a huge plant person. So if I can be in like a natural environment with these like gorgeous like plant layouts, like really aesthetic areas, that's how you win my heart.
You know where you should go? It's I don't remember where it is. It's somewhere in like mid California. I think it's called
Ooh.
Nepenthe. It's like along Highway 1, so the Pacific Coast
Mm-hmm.
Highway.
Oh, the Pacific Coast Highway. So
Yeah,
pretty.
and it's kind of up high on like a cliff, but there's like a restaurant there that serves food, and you can also get
Hmm.
like local wines. That would be
Yeah.
a lot of fun, and it's a gorgeous view.
Oh my gosh, girl, when are you coming to visit me? Take me on a date there.
Let's go! I'll rent a Mustang
Yes.
again. That was fun.
Come on over. Oh, Mustang. I'm down for that. A little rev up the Pacific Coast Highway. All right.
Okay, maybe we have time for one more question here.
Yeah.
There's a question that's asking if both people are chatty, wouldn't that be a little clashing? And I presume that's probably like virtual, right? Like texting.
Probably. I mean, you can navigate that, I feel like you have to give a space for not talk over each other. It's the same thing as in person. You get two really chatty people, like you and I will chat quite a bit, but like you give space for that interaction. Read the conversation, like pause if you want to, like if you want them to respond, things like that. It's just nonverbal cues as well. If you find that the other person might be a little too chatty, then that's fine. Then maybe you guys are just maybe not the best fit, or you can communicate how you feel. Be like, hey, I feel like let me share a little bit about myself, and just like slide it in there. But for the most part, I think a lot of people who actually end up dating online are actually pretty good about leaving space for that interaction. You know.
Yeah, I
So,
think one thing
what
that
do
I
you
have to
think?
remember doing is to like ask questions, like follow-up questions if they're sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Sometimes I don't know if
exactly.
everyone has this problem, but sometimes I just like talking about myself. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if someone asks me questions all the time, I'll just respond. So I
yeah,
have to remember to loop them in the conversation. Otherwise, they know a lot about you, but you don't really know too much
yeah.
about them. And
Exactly,
that's not the
exactly.
point of dating, at least for me, right? We're
No, definitely
trying
not.
to get to know each other.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like nerves too, because you just like talk a lot, and then sometimes you just gotta like reel it in a little bit. So it's all about being like kind of aware too. It's just like self-awareness is key in these situations because you can't really like vibe, you know?
Yeah.
All right. And I think that is everything.
It's all the questions that I have for you and all the questions
Yeah,
that our viewers here have for us.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so thank you all so much for joining us. Is there anything that maybe like one last sentence you want to say about dating during COVID, Daphne? Like if you had to
Yeah.
just add a
Sum
one
it all up.
liner, what's your one
Well,
liner?
have fun, be safe, and be open in the one-liner.
Oh, I love that. I love
What
that,
about you?
Daphne.
What are your final thoughts on this subject?
I think my one liner is similar to dating in general. Like
Hmm.
have fun, be yourself,
Yeah.
and just really enjoy it. Like
Yeah,
I,
I would
I feel
agree with
like,
that.
yeah, really enjoy it.
Yes. Shout out to my friend Tim watching this, and Harsh and Kat and Hyman. Thank you guys. You guys are the best. I know they're all watching right now. And
And shout out
then,
to Brian for moderating
yes,
us in the background. He's a little
Brian, you're
hidden right
awesome.
now. You may have seen him in previous series. So
Yeah.
thanks for linking
And
us together
yeah,
too.
also, yeah. Oh, and thank you to my friends in Singapore who are watching. It's freaking like 2:30 a.m. right now, your time. I love you guys. You guys are the best. Go to sleep.
And with that, we're signing off. Thank you all
Catch
so
y'all
much for joining us.
later.
Catch us
Yeah.
next weekend. Not us, but catch the series next weekend
Yeah. And
for
subtle
another
Asian
topic.
voices right here. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Catch you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.